Welcome to another episode of Tech Talk with Suits. And I am joining you today in my Spider-Man suit. So, today's episode was requested. It is going to be called, What's with the Dark Web? It sucks talking in a mask. Give me a sec. Trying to think with them. Now that I've got that mask off, it's a lot easier to talk. So, with the dark web, there's actually about 3 layers to this. There's the normal internet, there's the deep web, and then there's the dark web. It's estimated about 10% of what you can browse using like Google Chrome or Internet Explorer, about 10%, maybe a little bit less, is available easily through normal search means. Below that is the deep web, which is not meant to be accessible in any way. You're not supposed to be able to access it. And before you say, well, why? We'll talk about that. And then below that's the dark web, which has all the weird stuff that you always hear about. So to start off with a brief history, the military, when computers were first here, they said, hey, we want to be able to talk to each other or communicate in a way without having to send like phone calls and messages, things like that. So they developed what they called ARPANET. It's a long acronym. Don't remember half of what it is, but it's advanced in research and stuff like that. I'll go ahead and put it in the description below. But ARPANET was military. Now, this later on was a stepping stone to becoming the internet, which we all know and love. Now, the problem with the internet as it grew bigger and bigger is it was very trackable. Companies, even now, companies are tracking the data. They are seeing what you're doing all the time. By the way, incognito mode does not keep companies from seeing what you're doing. Incognito mode simply keeps it from saving to your browser history, which for some of you is a very good thing. Leaving that alone. But yeah, incognito mode just keeps it from being saved to your browser. You can even delete your browser history afterwards. Same thing, it's just a quicker step. So, what ended up happening was people realized that their stuff was being tracked, and they thought, I kind of want a more secure way of being able to either browse or being able to say stuff, because the internet's not just for surfing and saying, hey, I don't want anybody seeing what I'm looking at. It's also a way to communicate. Now, whether you're putting up information that you don't want to be seen by other people, or you don't want it to be tracked back to you, or something like that. People do that all the time. A lot of whistleblowers, people who have maybe a funky disease and don't want people to know about it, or they are trying to make a transaction that they don't want other people to see. Lots of reasons for trying to use anonymity on the internet. Now, anonymity is all about what the dark web is for. So we talked about how we go through 3 layers. Top layer of the internet, everybody is using that constantly. Deep web. Deep web is not meant to be some seedy, weird thing. It's databases usually. It's stuff that people have online or on the internet that they don't want searchable by you or searchable by the normal person. A lot of companies will do this because they don't want their main databases being searchable. People and companies put a lot of stuff online that they don't want everybody else to be able to see. It's still up in the cloud and it's online, but they don't want it accessible by other normal people. Maybe without a login or maybe without something else. That's what the deep web is. It's not some seedy, shady thing. It's simply information that other companies don't want you to have access to, which may or may not be seedy and shady, but that's beside the point. It's not searchable for a reason. It's their information. The dark web. This is where a lot of you went, wait, what? The dark? I was asked earlier if this is a place where you can do illegal things and sell human skulls and hitman lists and things like that. Technically, yeah, you probably would find that on there. So what happens with the dark web is history of the internet goes through and people want anonymity and they're not getting it. However, there are a couple things. If you ever hear or see ads for VPN, virtual private network, those are everywhere nowadays. There's a lot of companies that do those. It's meant to change your IP address and your location to another place. By the way, VPNs are great if you are trying to look up a site or you are trying to watch videos that say, hey, this is not for your area. I love watching anime, and some of the time the anime comes up and says, not for your area. So I could easily change to another country and then have it available for myself. It works. With VPN, helping you to be a little bit more anonymous, there also came a browser called Tor, T-O-R. The symbol is like a half-peeled onion. Kind of interesting, but it works. T-O-R. This was created for anonymity. You can't search the dark web without using a site or a browser like Tor. You can easily download it. You can even go to Google right now and type in Tor download and get it. Once you go into Tor, you then have access to a whole bunch of these dark websites. Now, the dark web sounds just like you would think it would be. It is dark. It's where the dark and seedy stuff can happen if you want it to. However, just like anything that can give you anonymity, what would you put there? Some people, like I said before, maybe whistleblowers. If I think that some government or company is doing something they shouldn't and I think, hey, they're watching me, maybe I want to put on what's going on and say, hey, this is happening, but I don't want to trace back to myself. But I still want to get the news out there. Maybe you are asking for help with some rare, humiliating disease that you have or something like that, or you want to talk to a support group without it being able to be traced back to you. Anonymity, right? It works. Now, yes, with anonymity, of course, if you have a mind for illegal things, it's going to happen where you say, hey, wait, I want to do something illegal but not have it traced back to me. Which Spider-Man would never do anything illegal, so deal with it. But, so, this is where some stuff comes in. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, yeah, you have anonymity. So if I wanted to go on and hire a hit person, there's a problem with that. I could go on and find one, but how am I going to pay that person if I don't want to meet them in person to give them cash, and I don't want to give my credit card because credit card and debit card, that's traceable, right? So how am I going to pay for something that I don't want traced back to me? Welcome Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, because Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, like it, are untraceable. They have their own little ledgers, and I'm not explaining right now how Bitcoin works. If you want that, ask, and I will do a whole nother video on that. That's a lovely long story. But Bitcoin, things like that, made it possible so then people could use anonymous payments that were still secure and now pay for those things. So now if I wanted that hitman or the human skull that the person asked about, or any number of other things where I think, you know what, I want to get this, but I'd be embarrassed if it was tracked back to me, or maybe it is illegal and nefarious activity. Maybe I wanted to hire that hacker to do something and I wanted to pay them without having it traced back. Bitcoin works with Tor, and boom, you've got both sides. Now, that being said, there are a lot of things that have been shut down for very good reasons, such as there's been a lot of human trafficking things that have been shut down. There was a notorious one called Silk Road, which was a lot of illegal drugs being sold online and being purchased with Bitcoin, things like that. FBI found it, shut it down, done. Illegal drugs, at least through Silk Road, gone. There was a famous one, I cannot remember the name of it, but it was dealing with, I don't want to get in trouble on this, so it was adult materials involving children. Obviously very illegal and really messed up. That got shut down, thankfully. So it doesn't mean that the government or another entity cannot find it and shut it down. It simply means that it's fairly anonymous, or it is anonymous. Also in this case, when I talk about whistleblowers, Edward Snowden, which I want to do a video on him, very interesting. That's going to be in the future. I will do a video on him. He used the dark web to do his whistleblowing because he knew otherwise it was going to be brought back to him. So he used that to whistleblow and tell us, hey, by the way, the government is watching you way more than they should be, and quite illegally, I might add, but we'll come back to that in another video. So it's all about anonymity. What you can do with that anonymity is up to you. So that's what the dark web is, that's what the deep web is, and that's what the normal web is. And if you have any other questions, let me know. And this is Suits signing out.